Good evening, friends. What day are we in? Tuesday? Happy Tuesday night. I am so excited to be back doing some lives late at night. I have my good friend Gabrielle. Guys, I love this. Gabrielle and I met Gabrielle, it's been like a year and a half now. How long have we been friends and bouncing back and forth?
Oh, well, I think you're at least a year. Because the first one you did with me, I noticed it popped up in my Facebook memories. So at least a year.
Oh, I love that. Oh, it popped up inside your Facebook memories? I didn't get one. Bummer.
Oh, I think it's only for mine because I streamed it to my page, but um,
That
yeah. And
that would make
it doesn't always pop up if you have multiple memories in the same day. It may not pop up, so you may want to you could type in Facebook memories and it'll just kind of pop up for whatever it is for that day.
got it. Got it. But my point is we have been friends now for at least a year, and this is like our third chit chat that we have had. And it has been just so much fun. And I love the fact that we get to kind of connect again and bring in like a new topic because as we're growing, some things are coming up, and I'm really excited to deep dive into this. So thank you so much for being here tonight.
Thank you for having me again. This is awesome.
Absolutely. So first, okay, so not first, so I did first, but like second, I wanted guys, okay, how do I want to start this? I want to say thank you for finding value inside of a piece that we did uh, last year. Our first piece, I want to say it was, or our second piece. And you went ahead and you put that out onto public television out in New York. I want to stop and say thank you about that.
You're very welcome.
Thanks. And then with that though, a lot of feelings came on about that. And you and I, we had a talk, and I really wanted to deep dive into that and into the feelings and help anyone else that might be like going through some of those things. So that's what we're going to be doing tonight. And also, we're going to be talking about networking, connecting, growing, and also getting noticed and holding the light for someone else when they don't see the light for themselves.
I'm ready. Let's go for it.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, so I have a question. Your Hot Topic series, because that's what we were on, how long have you been doing those?
I want to, well, this coming July would make it 3 years.
Oh, wow, 3 years. And then how many guests do you think have been on your podcast?
Um, well, a handful of them are repeat guests, meaning that they've come on more than once, like yourself. Um, I've done a lot of people.
Love it.
I would say maybe around the in the maybe 100 people in the entirety of the series.
That's incredible. Oh my goodness. Where did this idea for Hot Topics come from? And how did you put this together from like the bottom and then building?
Yeah, so how did I get my idea? All right, so it was in the beginning of the pandemic. I don't know if you've had that moment where, not really a moment, but like you have that idea that's just kind of floating around in the back of your head, but it's like you keep putting it off and you're like, you don't know how you're going to do it. And it's just kind of one of those things where, oh, it would be great to do such and such. Well, the pandemic came along and everything shut down and Zoom took over the world. And I was like, because I have my own tutoring company, so I was exploring different avenues about, well, how will I do online tutoring? Because my team and I were originally doing in person, so we were forced to do online. So now I have to, how would we do it, right? So I'm looking into ways to do it, and I discovered Zoom because Zoom is very popular. So I was like, well, everyone else is doing Zoom, right? Let me try Zoom and let me play around with the features. And by playing around with Zoom and looking at the different features that they have, I was taken, I was blown away. I was like, oh wow, I could really use this. And I think because of being forced to do virtual, it kind of got me into a deep dive of what else can Zoom do? And I saw that you can record and use the video file, and I saw the audio file. And I was like, oh, how cool would it be to do like a TV show, right? And I have the technology to do it. And then I just so happened to, and random search through my laptop, I happened to discover a video editing program through Microsoft. So I was like, oh, because I used to do Movie Maker old school way back in the day. And so I was like, oh, okay, Microsoft, let me play with it. And so I played with it and I was like, oh, that's so cool. You can upload videos and you can trim and put different slides. And I was like, oh, this will be cool, right? I can use this to put little videos together. And then I discovered that you can upload to YouTube and Facebook. And I was like, oh, okay, this is kind of dope, right? I can do this, I can upload to social media, and okay, this is really cool, right? And I discovered the technology, and so I was like, okay, you know what? I totally want to do this. And so, and it's that moment where now you need that leap of faith, right? Now you need that push. You have the idea in your head. Now it's to get going, right? So what is that push, right? And I happen to be talking to a friend of mine who runs a daycare center, and I guess I was just like, you know what, I'm just gonna do it, right? Hey, I want to do this show, and I was telling her my idea, and I was like, hey, would you mind being my first guest? And she was like, I didn't think you would ask. Yeah, I'm down. I was like, you know what? Oh my God, I'm gonna go for it. And so it's just going for it. And she was my very first guest. So she was my inaugural guest, so to speak. So I never thought in my wildest dreams it would be almost 3 years and meeting so many different people. And because prior to that, I was on other podcasts before, and I was on other people's podcasts. And so I was just like, I want to do this for myself. And so
Yes.
that just fed into the idea that I already had about doing well, I was thinking a TV show, not really an internet show. But it turned out to be an internet show. And all these different ideas just kind of floated around in my head until it's just that moment. You're staring at the door. Do I open it or do I not? And it's like, you know what? I'm gonna open it. What else do I have to lose? It's the pandemic. Everything's shut down anyway. And so it's just like, you know what? Everything's already virtual. I have the technology. Why not? And so I just kind of took that leap of faith. And going through this, it just kind of opened up a whole world to me, right? So I started off with people that I knew, and then I found the power of Facebook, right? I found podcasting Facebook groups. And so I joined them, and I was just like, to talk about this. I would love to talk about this. I would love to talk about this. And so you put in a find a guest, as it's called, and you just, hey, find a guest. I want to talk about parenthood. I want to talk about mental health. And then people just kind of flood comments, and it's like, I could do this, I could do this. Yeah. So that it just kind of took off from there. And then I'm in another Facebook group called the Black Career Facebook group is pretty much for Black people in Queens, which is the area that I'm close to. And you kind of start off with home base, right? So that's kind of how it starts. You start off with home base, and then you kind of branch out outside of home base. But I think in meeting all those people and doing all those Facebook groups and making all those connections, and then other people that I've had on my show, they're like, "Hey, you should have so and so on your show." I was like, "Okay," so now it's referrals, and it just kind of went into a whole whirlwind. So I did one group which I really like and highly recommend. And then there was like a few other groups that I joined, podcasting groups. Um, I think I met you in one of those groups actually.
Yeah, that is
Um,
how we met.
yeah, I'm trying to remember how we connected, but some I know it was some like entrepreneurship. I don't some I think you responded to one of my posts, or I saw yours, and I was like, hey, I would love to have her on my show for some. So I don't remember how we connected, but I know it was in one of those groups, and it was just one thing after another, and I just kind of dived into this world of podcasting. It's just like it's like a rabbit hole. I just went down a rabbit hole, and then it got me to this point today. So it's definitely taken me on a ride for sure, and meeting all these different entrepreneurs, and as soon as I finish an episode, I friend them on Facebook, and which grows my followers on Facebook, and I joined their Facebook groups, I follow their Facebook pages, I follow all of them on social media. So it's kind of a tradition, so to speak, that I do. So as soon as you get on my show, hey, I'm gonna follow you, right? So I follow your business on Instagram, on Twitter, whatever it is, definitely Facebook, just to kind of keep track of what you're doing. And I keep up the communication there. And then when you realize it's like like 100 people you're doing that for, it's a bunch of different Facebook groups and things that you're seeing, and keeping tabs of what your guests are doing, and keeping that relationship going with those guests as yourself. So, and then it becomes, hey, do you want to come back on my show and talk about so and so? And then that's how you get repeat guests. So, yeah, it's definitely taken me on a ride. It's definitely taken me down a rabbit hole. And I definitely increased my networking by doing the show. I wasn't really doing it
Yes.
before. And because of this, it kind of stepped up my networking more. And so I can tap into this pool of entrepreneurs, to build my own business, right? Like I've reached out to other entrepreneurs for free products for an event that I'm trying to, have a raffle for. So it's definitely
Yeah.
created all these different opportunities for me, and I can't wait to see how far it goes.
Yeah, that was something that I was thinking about because um, when you were saying like, you follow and you keep tabs and yes, of course, you want to keep tabs on your guests and you want to know like what their life is all about, but also it is getting your business out in front of them as well. So like you said, it expands your network, it expands your circle, and it just gets like everybody known even further. And it's awesome having repeat guests because when they see your face and your name back inside of my feed, they're like, well, now wait a minute. Like, we've seen her around. Like, okay, like maybe we can, deep dive just a little bit more. Like, why does Amber keep having her back? Like, what makes Gabrielle so special? And I think that those are like the golden moments with podcasting.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's the people that keep coming back, I think it's their face that your audience keeps seeing. And so there's that mere exposure, right? It's a psychological term, but basically kind of tapping into my counseling skills here. But
Are
the
you
more you
teaching right now? Ooh, I love it.
yeah, it's funny how it keeps coming back to me, but it basically the more you see something, the more familiar you become with it, right? So it's that the idea of repetition, right? So the more you see a face, the more you become familiar with that face, and by extension, the more you trust it because the more you keep seeing it, right? And so I do have people come back on my show. I mean, one thing, it is convenient for me because I already have their information. So it's not like I have to research it and I have to put the show notes together. So that's a whole thing.
Yes.
Yeah. So when I have those repeat guests, it's like, oh, I already have it, right? And so it's just a copy and paste. Maybe just to double check to make sure it's accurate, but yeah, and it's kind of, I already have the information. It's just to repeat it. I've also kind last year I made YouTube playlists. So it's basically it's a thing, a feature on YouTube where you can put multiple videos in a list, pretty much in a list, and
Yeah.
you can kind of play all those videos in that particular list. And so I think I made one for you.
Oh,
Right, because you did two with me, and I think I did one with you, which I have the video for, and then the shorts for. So I've been doing YouTube playlists for the repeats, and so all everything that we've done together is on one list, right? And so I've done that with multiple of my guests as well. But yeah, I love it when they come back because we already have that relationship, right? And so
yeah.
it's not like starting over, it's picking up from where we left off. And especially if they say things that you remember from the last show. It's like, oh wait, I remember you said X, Y, and Z. And then you kind of and you add it to that current conversation and you build on that more. So I love having guests come back. And then what does that say about you that they're willing to come back, right? So when you have the guests that come back to my show, it's like there's something about you that's making them come back, right? So it's definitely uplifting for both parties as well.
Exactly. And you have given me so many pointers that I haven't totally put into practice yet, but you have given me so many pointers. I know. I know. I keep on saying, I'm so busy. And you're like, friend, if you're going to stay busy, you need to go ahead and do this. I have a list still that I need to get done that you keep on recommending. Um, because yes, you run your show very differently than I do mine. And I've learned by watching you and the steps that I'm not taking, how smooth your show can run. And when you enter in the biographies and when you enter in all the backstory, it really makes people connect more. And yeah, so there's a few things that I'm definitely missing out on there. But that came with time, right? Like, I guess, like with that, do you think that like anybody could possibly be like a podcast host, like with just a little bit of training, education?
It's the question I keep asking myself. um,
Yeah.
because it just seems like everybody has a podcast now. I think anybody can, but can anybody should? You can,
Sure.
but should you? Right? Um, it's I think there's people out there that just kind of do it. They just want to share their thoughts.
Mm,
Which is fine, but are your thoughts unique? Right? Are you just kind of talking nonsense or is there a point? And I think and a lot of this is really just me self-learning. I didn't really do like a class or anything. I just kind of figured it out. But um I think it helps if you have a purpose. So if you are going to do it, you need a purpose. So like my podcast is connected to my tutoring company. So I have a purpose to promote my business, to discuss topics in education, to discuss things that parents are interested in, right? And I was on one person's show and her advice was to, although I sort of don't follow it, but her advice was to have guests on that you would want as a client. And while that's true, because her thing was like, well, if you're going to have experts all the time, you're only going to get experts, right? So if you want to reach out to parents, you should only have parents as guests. And I see both sides of that. But
Yeah,
I see her point, right? Um, so so I kind of half follow that. But basically I think of topics that are one interesting to me and two that are interesting to my audience, right? But again, I have
exactly.
a purpose, which is to educate people on certain things that are important to my audience. So, which is basically like parents and other entrepreneurs. And then, but it kind of starts off with me and that, oh, what am I interested in? I like just recently I wanted to talk about the legalities of divorce. Like I'm curious about how that works. And so let me find someone who could talk about that. And of course I get a whole bunch of people interested and but I have people in my audience that are divorcees, right? With children, right? So it's people that it's because I have people in my audience that are familiar with divorce, right? And even in my own tutoring sessions, you have the single parent, right? Or you have the divorced parent and like, okay, my kid is with me Monday to Friday. He has to go see the other person Saturday and Sunday. So you kind of see that. Well, I kind of see that in my practice. I think because I have those people in my audience, it works out because it connects with them. And of course it's interesting. If it's interesting to me, it's going to be interesting to somebody else. So um
Exactly.
yeah, so all that to say is I when it comes to topics, it's really just whatever I'm interested in, but I know that someone else is interested in it as well. And I had a point. What was my point? Yeah. So basically, if you start a podcast, you got to have a purpose.
Make
So
sure
in
you have
all
your
that I
point.
do, in all that I do, I have a purpose. It's to promote my business, which is number one, my tutoring business, but also to educate people on things that they may not know about. So number one is to promote my tutoring business, but number two is to educate. And so the more knowledge is out there, the better. And to have those open discussions. And because my show is strictly interview, so I don't really do myself as a solo talker
Yeah,
unless it's I was on someone else's show and I liked the way that went. And so I'm gonna just kind of put it as a video clip inside. So it's really basically just an interview show that I do. I don't really do solo talking. But all I have to say is there's a point to all that I do. And my point again is one, to promote my tutoring business, but then number two is to educate people on things that, well, I'm interested in, but I know that my audience is interested in as well. So basically, if you're going to start a podcast, there needs to be a purpose.
yeah,
And don't just do it just to do it, but what is your purpose? Who is your audience? What do they care about? And you play to your audience, and in doing so, you play to yourself. So have a
exactly.
purpose. Have a purpose. Number one, have a purpose.
I love that. And usually everything figures itself out after you figure out like what your purpose is. After you figure out like what matters to you and what matters to others and what other people are interested in, then all the details and all the finesse, comes with it. Such as like, the beginning trailer and then the closing trailer and things like that. So I think like those things are important, but I don't think that's like the nuts and the bolts like of the show. Um, but another thing that I wanted to talk about was so we, as like we're the hostess and networking, I wanted to kind of understand how did you meet the connection or how did you up your game to go ahead and put people onto public TV? And like what did that journey look like for you? And then I'm going to reflect it and we're going to go kind of down into what I was feeling and how I don't know. kind of like how that definitely spun me on my heels there for a minute. So I'd love to know that journey.
Yeah, so the benefit of networking with other podcasters. So I was in one group, I think it's the Black Support Podcast Network, and I wasn't even thinking about it. Um and I think someone put up a post, and then I was looking at someone else's response to that post, and that response was um I think someone was like, how can I get my podcast out there more? And someone responded by suggesting public access TV. And so that blew my mind because I was like, there was another idea that was in the back of my head. Like, I would love to get on public access TV. I, I just remember when I was younger, it just looking at those channels. It's the free channels, not cable. Um, and just kind of looking at those free channels was like, oh, that would be so cool to get on that. So fast forward, someone puts up a post, get on public access TV, and I was like, oh, I wonder how that works. And so I messaged that person and I was like, how does that work? And basically he's like, I mean, it's specific to your town, so it's not like all over the country, which is the downside to public access TV. You have to go in individually in each town. But but I was like, he kind of told me just, look into your town. It's specific to each town. So I was like, okay, I guess I kind of didn't really think of it. And then one day it just kind of, I was just curious about it one day. I was like, let me look into it. And so I Googled because I'm in Brooklyn, New York. So I was like, okay, let me start with my own town. Brooklyn, New York, public access, boom, it popped up. Oh, okay, let me take a look at it and what they're about. I was like, oh, okay. And I saw that they were offering like there's classes to be a producer. And so, but there's like an orientation. So I did the orientation. And basically they were saying you can become a producer and rent their studio and do all these other classes. You could also just send your show to them. So I was like, one of these days I'm gonna explore that. But for now, I think I'm just gonna submit the show. So I just send this. So I just was like, let me just see where this goes. So I happen to have my shows. I happen to have the video files for them. So highly recommend that. Save your video files. So I did, and I sent it over to them, and I did the application. I sent it over to them, and they approved it. And that was over a year ago. So I've been doing that for the past year. And so that was Brooklyn. And so I thought, okay, there's 5 boroughs of New York City. I would love to go throughout New York City. And so I looked into Bronx, I looked into Manhattan, I looked into Queens, I looked into Staten Island. Um, so as of today, I don't do all the boroughs because some of them want you to edit it. And there's a lot of things I learned about it. Like they specifically want 59 minutes if it's a full hour, or it's specifically 29 minutes. So you have to edit your shows to meet either 29 or 59 minutes. And then you have to like edit your videos in a way that meets a certain like frame. So
Oh,
you have
wow.
to, like I know Staten Island, there's certain disclaimers they want you to put in the beginning and the end. So there's a lot of editing to it. I know Queens, they only do half-hour shows. So the as I kind of went throughout all the boroughs, I realized there was a lot of editing that I had to do. So I was doing that for a while, and then I kind of just got overwhelmed, and so I slowed it down. But I kind of just focused on Brooklyn since it's my hometown. But recently I've kind of picked up the Bronx a little bit, so I might do Bronx and Manhattan. Basically, for those who are interested, if you have a video podcast, you have episodes, and you want to get on public access TV, it is pretty simple. So, like I said, it is by town. So you have to look for your specific town and just kind of Google it and follow the instructions. You may want to, so you may want to contact somebody there, but just know that there may be some editing involved, so be prepared for that. But
How much does something like that cost? Like Beth just asked, I was just curious that I'm hoping that's not too personal of a question.
to edit or to get on public access?
To get onto the public access.
Oh, it's free. It's free to do it.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Mhm.
That's
It's free to do
amazing.
it. But it is a commitment. It may be free, but it is time consuming. So
Because
it
they
is free to
want
do
you
it.
probably to make sure that like you do everything so that way it's like turnkey, you know?
But yeah, you have to follow their specific requirements.
Yeah.
I think it also depends on if you live in the town that you're trying to get in. So that was another issue I ran into. Like I was trying to get outside. I was like, oh, let me try, upstate New York. Let me try New Jersey. And they're like, oh, you have to be from here. Either that or someone has to sponsor you. So that kind of fell away. But I kind of just so as of now, I'm just focusing on some of my own local towns. But
That
start
makes
with your
sense.
own
Yeah.
local town, and so it's easier if you live in it. But if you're going outside, make sure to check if you can submit your shows to that town. And like they said, someone will have to sponsor you. I'm not quite sure how the sponsorship works, but
Right? Like maybe
at
just
least
a
you
good referral, like a good word or interesting.
or some, yeah, I don't know how that works.
I don't
But
know.
or someone has to be willing to submit shows on your behalf, but I'm not quite sure.
Oh,
But
okay.
if anything, definitely start with your local town and start
Yeah.
there and figure that out and then before you branch out.
That's fantastic. Love how like this little curiosity went ahead and like just opened up so many doors. Oh, that's what I was gonna ask you. How many shows have you submitted then, like to the agencies, and then how many of them have they ran?
Mm,
All those numbers.
well, I haven't been able to do all of my shows because they have this strict rule about you can't really solicit funds. So a lot of my shows, I ask people, please donate to my company, purchase so and so's book. So unfortunately, a lot of those shows I have not been able to turn in. So I'm in the process of editing those. But probably a good handful of my shows. How many have I done? Hmm.
And then
I mean,
after
maybe like
that, I have
60 or
another great
so.
question.
Like 60 or so. Yeah. But some of my shows
60
I
sh
haven't been
okay.
able to do. Yeah.
Okay, so you've submitted 60?
In the entire time.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, or 60 they ran. What was the number 60? I'm sorry.
um, they pretty yeah, they pretty much they ran all of my shows. But
Really?
again, some of them they rejected almost all of my shows, I will say. Some of them was rejected because of the soliciting part, but for the most part they ran most of the shows.
That's interesting. A question was asked again by Beth. Do you get paid if it increases the views?
No.
No,
So,
okay. Okay, so
no.
it's a free both ways. Like
It's free
nobody's getting
both
paid.
ways. Nobody's
Okay,
getting paid. It's really just clout. So, um, you're not getting paid, um, and they're running it for free. So, they have a small disclaimer whenever you submit shows. Pretty much, you're donating it to us, but yeah, there's no payment. So it's really just clout. Um, and I mean, you never know who's watching it.
yeah,
Someone I was speaking to somebody else, and he told me like because I guess I was doubting, like, okay, I don't really see the point of, I mean, I'm doing it just to do it. Like, I don't really see the value in it. And he's like, getting on public access TV is a big deal because not everyone's going to do that. Not everyone's going to take the time and edit those episodes and submit on a weekly basis. And, there's a small hunk of people that'll do that. So, the fact that you're willing to do that is a big deal. Like, don't take that for granted. I'm like, okay, I gotta keep telling myself this is a good thing. This is a good thing. This is not a waste of time. This is not a waste of time.
Okay,
But
that's
it
where I
is
want to go
kind of
next.
yeah. So it is kind of cool, especially if it's in your town. It's cool to you turn on the TV and you see it, and you're like, oh my God, okay, this is actually kind of cool. Like I'm actually watching it on TV, like right now. That's so awesome. But yeah, so basically
Yeah.
it is free for you to turn it in. They don't pay you, you don't get paid. It's really just clout. Um, and think of it as a marketing tool, right? So if
Oh,
you're
for
doing
sure.
it to, I mean, if your show is connected to your business, that's a social media post. Hey, our shows are on the local channel. If hey, what's up, local people? Like you're in Wisconsin, I believe, right? So
Sure. No,
if
but
you
that's
got on,
okay.
where are you? I'm sorry, I was wrong.
I'm
Where
in
are you?
Minnesota. It's okay.
Oh, you're in Minnesota. I'm sorry. Okay, so Minnesota, if you decide to, which might be good for you too, Amber, if you decide to all of um all of these episodes that you do,
Yeah.
you decide to look up Minnesota Public Access TV and you're willing to do the editing and follow all those little rules, you can get on Minnesota TV as well. And then that can be a marketing tool for you saying, hey, my Minnesota people, guess what? I'm on TV. Make sure you check me out on channel, and the channels are weird. And on channel
Yeah,
1994,
exactly.
channel 1994, check me out, Minnesota people. And then they could be like, cool, So I think it's mainly a marketing tool, and it's probably because public access TV. I think the idea is they're taking the content of people in their town and kind of putting it on big screen like that. So I think the intention is that to boost them. Um, but yeah,
Yeah.
so it really is for cloud/marketing. So there's no money involved.
Awesome. That brings me to the all the feels. I'm gonna go ahead. Okay, so I really wanted to show the rawness of this and have this amazing, beautiful conversation. And I was thinking about, maybe one day meticulous engagements could, go to public access TV. Now that I know there's a way to do it and follow all the rules, it really could be exciting. And but with that though, okay, so when you put out your promotional piece, like, hey, Amber McCarty, you're gonna be on TV, like this is so cool. I got a lot of people responding to that, like, Amber, this is great, like, good for you. This is great exposure. And I didn't know how to feel about it. Like, one, of course, like I was super grateful, and I'm not gonna hide. But two, this is where the real feelings come in, is like, who am I? Like, why my show? Like, why my topic? And like, am I ready for that? And like, what does that mean as far as like what the next step is, or like what does this look like to others? Like, do they just think like I'm succeeding when, hey, like I'm just Amber McCarty, just doing my thing and following my passion. So there's all the feels, and I wanted to talk about the feels and also what it's like to hold the light for somebody else. Because when you turned in my show, I didn't even know what you were, and I appreciate that. But yeah, there's just a lot of feels.
And I imagine, all right, so let me just tell you the backstory. All right, so the thinking in my head was okay, so you have to submit everything a month before, right? So well, in my town, Brooklyn, they want everything a month before, and so I was submitting in the shows for April for May, right? So I was like, okay, you know what I would love to do? Oh, you know what? I'm gonna go back to the backstory. So
Yeah.
it's I I originally was going to do my episodes in sequential order. However, it came the hiccup came where I had episodes, like I said before, I have a part where I was soliciting money. So that put a roadblock on that. And so I was like, oh, okay, so this is kind of unfortunate. So what can I do? So I had to switch gears and say, you know what? So instead of doing it in sequential order, because I won't be able to, let me do it by themes. So, and so I started in April with, oh, let me do a study abroad theme, right? So I put up I episodes of my episodes that I did about study abroad. So I did 6 of those already, and I put up the first 4. Um, so now, so I turned those in March to set up April. Now here's April. So April comes to set up for May, and so I was like, okay, you know what? Mother's Day is coming up. Let's make it a Mother's theme, right? So I was looking at my backlog and I had 3 episodes that I did on entrepreneurship and motherhood. That's the name of that's the title, entrepreneurship and motherhood. And so I was like, okay, this will be good for a Mother's Day theme, but I only did 3 of those and I wanted 4 for the month. And so I was like, oh, what can I do for the 4th one? And so again, looking at my backlog, I had to pick and choose because I couldn't pick the one with the solicitation. And so I was like, okay, this one works. So the last one I did, which is I have a toddler, which is another friend of mine. So I did that. So entrepreneurship and motherhood, I was like, okay, I did 3 of those. So I can put that as a sequence, and those are safe. So um I did part 1, 2, and 3, and you were number 2, I believe. Yeah, you were number 2. And so that's how it came about, was that, okay, I want to pick this theme. And I did 3 of those themes. And so I was like, and you happen to be one of them. And so that's how it came about that it was you.
Aw.
So I was looking for a theme, and you happened to be a part of that theme. And so I was like, you know what? Let's do it. Boom. Let's get Amber up on there. And
Oh
here we
my
are.
goodness. I love that. Yeah. And I love how strategic you are with your thinking. Me, I've probably been like, oh, this, I like this one, and I like this one, and I like that one. And I love how you're like, let's do a theme and wrap a pretty bow on it. I love that about your beautiful brain.
Oh, thank you.
Absolutely. Um, Holding the light for others. How do you feel when, okay, as a business owner, we do a lot for ourselves with marketing and we make sure that we put ourselves out there. But I feel like you took it one step further and you like really held the light for me by sharing this article or this podcast. So, how do you feel when you get to share and hold the light for others that maybe when they don't see the light inside of themselves?
Um, the way I look at it, I would want someone to do that for me. And it's this internal battle that I have within myself, in that if I if I boost up other entrepreneurs, like it's like this internal battle where I'm spending all this time boosting all these other entrepreneurs, but I'm not doing it to myself. And how is helping other people helping me? And it's this internal battle that I kind of have.
I think we all have that.
But
Can we just be real? Yeah.
yeah, like, am I giving you more attention than myself? Um, but, and it is something that I have to keep telling myself, that helping others does help you in return. Um, because one, it is my name on the show. So um and also especially if um no, but you were the first one. I was, yeah, like if we did the first one would have been a little bit better, but um in terms of I think of my answer, but I think because of putting out other people's stories, but doing it through my platform, it brings attention to my platform as well as yours. And I had a group of people on a episode, and it was my first one where I had multiple guests at one time. And the message there was, so my question was, how do you stand out from other people that do the same thing that you're doing? And
Mm,
their response was, why do you want to stand out? You know, like why can't we all share the same space? And it's like, oh, you know, I never thought of that. And so I always, in terms of even my own tutoring company, like there's a bunch of other tutoring companies, and it's like in the beginning I was kind of competing with them, but then kind of in recent years, it's like, why can't you lift each other up? Right? Like, I can't take on these students. Let me give it to you and help you out. And in turn, you do that for me. And so it's one of the things I started doing through my own show was highlighting other tutors on my show. And even though it might sound like, okay, why are you supporting the competition? But then it's like, why am I looking at you as competition? You know, I should be looking at you as a colleague, and we're kind of all in this together, right? And we should be lifting each other up instead of kind of not really bringing each other down, but if I lift you up, then I lift myself up in connection to that. And so I think it is that internal, maybe that dark voice that I have in my head, like, you know, why are you helping other people? Like, focus on yourself, and you know, screw others, focus on yourself. And unfortunately, I do still have that thought that keeps popping up in my head, but then it's like, in lifting up others, you lift up yourself. And I think there's this proverb, this African proverb, like, if you want to go far, go by yourself. But if it's, I don't want to misquote it, but basically, you know, if you want to go ahead, go by yourself. But if you want to go far, go together. That's, I know I'm misquoting, but basically, if you kind of the power of working together as opposed to working by yourself. And I think in doing that, you uplift yourself. And even looking at even looking at social media, right? And I promote you on my platform, and then by you sharing that post on your platform, in turn, you're sharing me, right? And so some of those people end up following my page and they want to learn more about me, and you know, and even through your group, and having some of the people in your group on my show, and then I share that in your group, and then they take that and they share it elsewhere. So there's a benefit to that. I don't know if I'm answering your question. I feel like I'm going all over the place,
yes,
but basically it helps to lift other people because in turn it comes back to you. And it's karma, right? You do unto others as you want done unto you. And so uh and by lifting up other people, you're lifting up yourself, and especially if your name is attached to it. And so is, you know, I do have that dark thought, but I have seen it where, you know, even something simple as I upload the episode to my Instagram and that person shares it on their stories, you know, they're not only promoting themselves, but they're promoting me in connection to it. And so
exactly.
you go farther when you work together with other people.
Yes,
So that's what I'm trying to say.
yes. Oh my goodness. Beth, I'm gonna pull your comment out of there on Facebook. Friend, you said I try not to put my name on it. LOL. Oh my goodness. Friend, we're gonna have a sidebar with you.
I'm looking at those comments as well. Um,
Oh my goodness. We
I'm
have
looking at
five
those.
people on. This is really amazing. I
Yeah, that's
appreciate it.
crazy. Oh my God.
Yeah. I know. I know. I'm loving this. Apparently they are loving the topic and everything. Um, we covered all of the notes and all of the questions. So I just asked if there was anything that the viewers would like to ask, either you or I, or just mention. That would be great.
Well,
Um,
can I throw a curveball? I
yes.
would love to talk more about you and your feelings about it. So what was it about being on TV that was like, oh my God, why? Why me? Like, why did you tell us about that thought? You had this why
I
me.
love
Tell us
this. So
more about
you're
that
gonna be
thought.
my guest, and now you're gonna be the hostess. Ooh, let's go.
Curveball,
I
let's do
love it.
it.
Okay, let's do it. Um, I guess okay, one, I guess I didn't realize like what it was, what it like meant, you know? I'm like, okay, like is this good? Like is this bad? Is this small or like is this huge? Like I didn't know what it was. And I guess I also just wanted to make sure like I kept, an average head about it and not like overly gloating. Like I'm on TV. So there was some of that, like, and some of the danger with that, and just thinking like, okay, and then also, how will others, now view me because I'm on, public access TV, and so just like all the different feelings, and then also I guess all the congratulations that I was receiving, and it really showcased like this might sound really selfish, but it showcased how far my work has gone because I was pulling people out of the woodworks for a congratulations, and it was a lot. And it was amazing, but that's where my feelings were, and I was thinking like, why me? Like I haven't done anything really, like nothing like that makes me super, I don't know, above average. Like I host people, I get their names out there, I network, I connect, but otherwise, I'm just a busy entrepreneur and a mother of three following a passion. And so yeah, still, can you watch the episode again? Yeah. So Gabriella, later do we want to go ahead and add the link in the
Yeah, I'm looking at
comments?
the same comments. This is kind of cool. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. And I guess that's the beauty too of add it. Okay, let me get it in there. Let
Oh, you
me
can add it after the show too.
Oh,
So we'll
okay, I was gonna do it now, but okay.
oh, you're so
Um,
cute.
I was gonna multitask, but yeah, I think that's the beauty too about in recent months, it's just occurred to me that time is the best teacher. So I say that because you don't really think about things until so many years have passed. Like even just looking at your favorite bands, like I'm into Backstreet Boys, I'm into Spice Girls, and so looking at Backstreet Boys and seeing like, oh, we've been making music for 30 years and just looking at I keep seeing 30 years, 30 years, 30 years, 25 years. It's like, whoa, has it really been 30 years since Spice Girls has been around? And it's just like, how old am I? So it's just like, how many, it just the fact that something has been around for so long and just that nostalgia of I listen to like even like Eminem's one of my favorite rappers. Like he's been around for like 25 years. And it's just like I remember you when I was 11 and now I'm 36 and it's just like whoa. And
I
all
went to
those
one of their
nostalgic
concerts.
yeah, and all those nostalgic feelings come up and even like in sync when they made their quick reunion was like, are you serious right now? Like, has it been 20 something years? All that to say is this, I think just kind of there's a reason why I'm bringing up this point is looking at my podcast episodes, and even though it's been almost 3 years, and even the fact that it's popping up on my Facebook memories, it's like it's been a year since you made this episode. It's been 2 years, and I'm looking forward to the day when I see 10 years. Like you made this episode 10 years ago, and it's just like, whoa. So I'm looking forward to that. But I think the timelessness of podcasting is a treasure in itself. And that's the beauty of YouTube, I find is better for this, as opposed to Facebook. Although I kind of see it both ways. But I think YouTube is a little I think YouTube is better for it in that like the old episodes will pop up, and it's like, did I really say that? And like, where was I a year ago? Where was I 2 years ago? Where was I 5 years ago? So I'm looking forward to the day where I look at my very first episode 6 years from now, and it's like, oh, where was I? Like, whoa, that wasn't the pandemic. Was that really 6 years ago? So I think there's a beauty to timelessness, and there's a beauty to things being 10 years old, 15 years old when you get to reflect. Because I've been doing a lot of reflecting lately, like, where did time go? Time is going so
Yeah.
quickly. Like, where was I 10 years ago? And so there's one of the beauties of podcasting is the timelessness and coming back to those episodes. And that's one of the beauty um of doing the public access TV is it's forcing me to go back into the backlog and back into those old episodes. And it's like, whoa, it's forcing me to relive that moment. And it's like, wow, where was I? Where was the guest? And kind of and keeping in touch with them and just seeing where they were and where they are now. And it's kind of interesting. So that's one of the beauties of doing podcasting, and the beauty of doing public access is you recycle old shows,
Oh,
right?
for
And
sure.
so yeah, and so like I was gonna do a restreaming of my Juneteenth episode that I made 2 years ago. I was gonna just replay that again, right? And so the beauty of recycling your old episodes, you get to see where you were back then and where you are now. So there's a beauty to the timelessness of podcasting.
I also want to pause you right there because could you also think that if you wouldn't have started 3 years ago with this like dream that just kind of like kept you awake just to get started, we wouldn't be here. Like we wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be having this amazing conversation. You wouldn't have, like all of the goodness that came out of your podcast and all the messy and all of the, I don't know. I don't know about you, but like I still get nervous when I go live, like for the first couple of minutes, and then I kind of like relax and sink into it. And I'm like, okay, we're here. Um, but could you imagine not going through all of that personal growth and then still having that thought of one day I will launch, one day I will be happy with, I don't know, how I look or how I talk or how, my background looks. You know, like, yeah, just imagining what would happen if we just never started.
Yeah, and I think about that too. Like, where would I be if I didn't do this? Where would I be if that idea just didn't pop into my head? And so you have these ideas in your head, and it's like, should I do it? Should I not do it? Because plenty of times I've had ideas in my head and I go through it and then they fall. But it goes just completely wrong, and then I regret ever making that idea. But it's hit and miss. It's trial and error. Sometimes you just got to do it, right? So it's I think that's one of the things about entrepreneurship and
Yeah.
podcasting and doing something of your own is you're gonna have those hit and misses, but you gotta just keep going. And it's a bad idea. Okay, well now you learned something. What did you learn from this? And how do you take what you learned and apply it to future things that you do? So I happen to be speaking of that, I happen to be wearing this appropriate shirt, but it looks backward. But
Oh,
basically it's Miss Frizzle, and it's basically it says take chances, make mistakes, get messy. And I don't know if how old your audience is, but I don't know if they're familiar with the Magic School Bus, but I happen to be how appropriate that that I'm wearing this shirt for your show. But basically take chances, make mistakes, get messy. That's one of the mantras of Miss Frizzle. And I always I held on to that. I grew up with that. And so even in my own tutoring sessions when the students are like, I don't want to make a mistake, I don't want a mistake, I'm just make it. Make a mistake, get messy, because then you learn, right? And so thank you, Magic School Bus. But
yes.
yeah, so it's entrepreneurship and podcasting, it's messy, it's definitely messy. And but time will tell, but time is the best teacher. But the fact that it's almost 3 years, I've been at this for almost 3 years, it's kind of crazy. And even being an entrepreneur for 10 years, I'm approaching 11 years, it's kind of crazy. So, because now I'm reflecting again, I was like, oh my God, like, where was I 10 years ago? Where so just where I was then and where I was now. But basically all that to say, all this is messy and you got to just do it. So make mistakes, get messy.
I love that. That has been my mantra for so long. Like even when I tell the kids or I'm talking to other business owners and I'm like, you just got to get messy. You got to put your foot in your mouth at some point. You got to trip and fall and, just do it all. Just get messy. So, Beth, as you
Totally.
know, the messier the project, the prettier the end results. So she flips houses and she does remodeling work. So that's what I knew she'd understand that one. So,
I
but
love
yeah.
Frizzle.
Oh my goodness, that brings back so many nostalgic memories. Oh man. Great. Now I know what I'm gonna be watching all week. I'm gonna be
I know.
binge watching Miss Frizzle.
Yeah, but
Oh,
and just kind of going back to an earlier point, I think is I mean it was lift this a little bit. I mean it was happenstance that I chose you. So, I mean, not it's like I chose the theme and you happen to be connected to the theme, and so that's how I chose you. But um I think the the I think the power of sharing these stories, there's always somebody it's gonna resonate with. So that's why it was the second episode that we did together, but the first episode we did together I thought was beauty in itself because yeah, you were filming and your kids, they just kind of came up and they were harassing you and you were like, please go away. And I was like, I'm not cutting any of this out. This is live. I'm leaving this in. Because
good.
there's a message to that, like you're being a mom and you're doing it at the same time as taking care of your kids. And if your kids are harassing you while you're in the middle of a live, it's like, how do you deal with that? So, I'll definitely put that link as well so people could see the messiness of your life. But also, there's a message to that, and
Yeah.
it resonates with mothers and entrepreneurs. And so, which is one of the reasons why I chose that theme for May, entrepreneurship and motherhood. So, yeah, so I think the power of people's stories is educational, which is the whole one of my points of my podcast is to be educational, is to share knowledge. And there's power in sharing knowledge and there's power in receiving knowledge. And so people's stories and experiences are teachable moments, are lessons in themselves. And so you can teach with your life, you can teach with your experiences. And so hence my podcast. And so why not, if my show is to teach you about something and is your life is the lesson, teach your life, why not? Because there's always somebody that'll benefit from it.
I love that. And yeah, I just posted. I love showing that other mothers can also be, go-getters and doers and movers and shakers, even with the kids, running around and screaming for an extra snack and all of the above, I mean, they've been with me every step of the way. So, crying in the back seat as you're trying to talk to a CEO of a business. And I'm like, yep, we're gonna have to take a rain check, but honestly, like I don't want to say that my children have ever like hindered my growth because like they've gone with me to boat shows, not like stayed for the whole time, but like they've went with me with other business owners and they've never have like destroyed something that was supposed to happen. And they've never it's like I just want other mothers to know, like I when I had like my baby, I didn't want to bring him with because I wanted to show like I'm a mompreneur and I'm a go-getter and I can do this, but I didn't want, the baby in the picture because I didn't feel like it felt professional enough. And then it took a lot of, mind change and a lot of growth to realize no, like this is a part of my life and, like your business is going to fit into my life, not my kids are going to fit into my business. So that's just how I just kind of
Yeah.
think of
And
it.
then, and you saying that something just popped into my head about, one of my guests, she, she talked about on one of my shows that, so she had like she does jewelry. So she had a booth and she just had a newborn and she wasn't sure how it would look having the newborn with her. I think something happened where she was forced to take her baby with her. And but then she realized that it actually helped her when other mothers looked at her running her table with baby in her hands. It actually attracted people to her, right?
Yeah,
Because of, whoa, you're running a business and you have a newborn? Like, so I think the power of relatability. And also, I think mothers is a big market. So if you can tap into mothers, you're gold. So I think once one way or another, get the mothers. But yeah, and I think I remember her saying that in that even her child is in my thumbnail. But it was an accident that she had, not an accident, but I think it was an unfortunate thing that she had to take her baby with her, but it actually built her business because other mothers tapped into that and they were like, and they were attracted to that. So I think the power of motherhood, and I mean, motherhood sells. I'm just
yeah, it
gonna
does.
say it. So motherhood sells. So for those of you with kids, use them kids. Why not? So
I love that. And you're right. I mean, you're not wrong. Nope. So, yeah, I'm just having a lot of flashbacks with the growth with the babes right now. So, that's why I'm all just tongue-tied. Um, but yeah, this has been absolutely incredible. I know that like we are right at the hour mark. Actually, we're a little bit over, but
yeah.
and I love that you guys are still watching. I appreciate this so much. I appreciate you guys' support and you guys being here. Um, but with that, I think that we'll go ahead and we can close this out unless there's something else that we would like to, discuss. I don't have a curfew. No.
Your kids are asleep.
They
I
are.
All right, beautiful. See, look at that. You wait till your kids go to sleep and then you do your show. Boom, right? Um,
I'm
uh,
learning. See?
yeah, see,
Learning.
learning, yeah. So, and then you structure your business around your children's sleep cycles. So that's a whole other thing. But I yeah, I don't really have anything else to say. I guess pretty much if you want to start a podcast, I would just say go for it, but what is your purpose? So have a purpose. I think people, I see it benefiting people. One second, sorry, it's my dad. Um, but I see it benefiting people with a business. So, whatever your business is, like if you do hair, I could see you doing a show about different hairstyles and people with different types of hair and how do you do people with the kinky curly hair and what do you do with straight hair, and so I could see a whole thing with hairdressers, right? So there's a purpose to that. So what is your purpose? So if you're going to start a podcast, have a purpose. That's pretty much what it is.
I love that so much. Of course, I spelled that wrong. Um, I love that. You're absolutely right. You definitely need a purpose in order to continue moving forward. I love it. Friend, I will let you go and I will let you turn in because I know that New York is ahead of. No, you guys are behind us. Never mind. Never mind. I don't know what I'm talking about. This is why I'm not the truck driver. I would get so lost. So, but yeah, I will go ahead and let you go. Thank you so much for being here tonight. I love this.
Yeah, thank you for having me, and thank you for keeping in touch with me. I love it.
Oh, absolutely, friend. All right. Bye, guys. I'm Amber McCarty with Meticulous Engagements, where it is my business to know your business so I can
Wait, should
help
I
you share.
promote my business or no? Sorry.
Yes, please.
Oh,
Yes.
okay. All right. So, let me just say my website. I do have a tutoring company called A Step Ahead Tutoring Services. So my website is www.astepAheadtutoringservices.com. I encourage you to check out the website if you're looking for tutoring services for your child or even for yourself. I'm also on multiple social media platforms. So I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, aka X, and YouTube. So, and I think there's one more. It's not coming to me, but please follow us. A Step Ahead Tutoring Services. Just put it in, put the name in, will pop up. You'll see a pencil logo with the blade with the gray and black tip. That is us. I also encourage you guys to check out my podcast, which Amber was on. It's called Hot Topics. You could listen to it on any podcasting platform. So again, type in A Step Ahead Tutoring Services. We will pop up. So listen to Hot Topics and subscribe as well.
I love it. Thank you. Thank you. I'm so glad you got to share that. Yay. I went ahead and I also tagged your business in the comments.
Thank you. Much appreciated.
Absolutely. Yes. All right. Bye, friends.
Bye. Thanks
Gabrielle,
for
don't
having
leave. I'm
me.
just gonna end the live stream.
Okay. Bye.